Part 11. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 101. Things in the Song family have intensified in just a few days. Those who had been threatened by Song Qing with evidence began to activate their interpersonal relationships, leaving the Song family completely helpless. If there are many people offended, even if the power is smaller, their combined power cannot be underestimated. In particular, the confidential information of some high-ranking officials and rich people was eavesdropped, which made them even more angry. Each of them used their own connections to add some trouble to the Song family. In this regard, the Song family did not dare to make any move at all. Because Li Rui, who they used to take the blame for Song Qing, had also gone to report Song Qing with sufficient evidence, and for this reason, he was also charged in court. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison and was to be executed immediately. Over the years, he had collected more than 30 million, all of which was confiscated. This punishment is already very light. Naturally, some people are indispensable for the operation. According to Zhang Cheng's instructions, Li Rui has communicated with many capable officials and rich people. As long as he surrenders, they must guarantee themselves. Inside the Magic City prison, Li Rui, wearing a prison uniform, stopped when passing by Song Qing's detention room. Young Master Song Li Rui stopped, faced Song Qing, and grinned. When Song Qing saw him like this, he was furious. Anger welled up in him. He rushed forward and shouted, "You bitch, how dare you betray me on horseback?" Song Qing thought that she treated him well and treated him as a confidant, but she didn't expect that this bitch would dare to betray him at such a critical moment. Seeing Song Qing's fierce look, Li Rui couldn't help but take a step back, swallowed, and then realized, this is a prison, what are you afraid of him for? Thinking of this, Li Rui stood closer and looked at Mr. Song, who he had not dared to go beyond in the past. He smiled and said, "Young Master Song, please don't get excited. After this time, we will have to live in a prison. By the way, I want to tell you that I have slept with one of your women and asked her to give birth to a child for me. She is your favorite flower." Li Rui smiled very sickly. He didn't know why, but he told this matter and felt a sense of pleasure. Obviously he had sworn not to pick up broken shoes, but who knew that he still fell in love with a broken shoe, and it was a true love. As soon as he heard these words, Song Qing suddenly became furious and roared angrily, "Bitch, you are dead, and your whole family will die. I will let you sink into the river with that bitch." Although Song Qing no longer likes the women he has slept with, he cannot tolerate others getting involved. This is why he is willing to spend money to raise them, just like raising canaries. But now, one of his women was slept with by Li Rui. Looking at Song Qing's fierce gaze, Li Rui felt extremely happy. Although there were 2 prison guards around him, he didn't care and said calmly, "If you were willing to give me a little more, how could I have done these things, making billions of profits every year? You just want to give me 8 million. You still want me to take the blame for you for decades, or even indefinitely, why don't you just die?" Bah! Li Rui spat hard in the direction of Song Qing, almost spitting directly on him. Seeing him evading in a panic, Li Rui laughed twice, and then followed the prison guards to the prison. Song Qing watched him leave, gritting his teeth and growling, "How dare you betray me, you bitch! When I get out, your life will be worse than death." Zhang Cheng didn't want to know what happened in the prison. At this moment, he no longer wanted to pay attention to the Song family's movements. Anyway, the overall situation had been decided and Song Qing could not escape. Next, cannibalizing the Song family is the main event. Just as he was about to go out, a belated system prompt suddenly sounded. "Ding, congratulations to the host, you successfully changed the plot and obtained the villain value add 2000. Ye Tian successfully broke up with the Song family, the Song family's blackening was completed, and the plot has undergone tremendous changes. Currently, 65% of the plot has passed, and the protagonist's luck is -10. A new plot connection has begun. Please pay attention to the changes in the world and news trends. Zhang Cheng was stunned when he heard the sound of the system. What happened that Ye Tian and the Song family broke up? He thought that based on the changes in the plot, Ye Tianhui and Song Yiwei would control the Song family together. Why did they suddenly break up? Zhang Cheng thought for a while, and then gave up thinking. Forget it, let's break up so that he can take over the Song group. With you and Ye Tian here, what kind of medical skills do I have to show off? At this time, a three-color squirrel jumped out and got into the co-pilot. Squeak, host, please pay attention to the changes in the Magic City. The story world has begun to arrange for the appearance of a new child of destiny. Zhang Cheng looked at the little squirrel that had not appeared for a long time, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I will not come into contact with this child of fate until Ye Tian is completely defeated, to avoid any accidents." Regarding the identity of the son of New Luck, Zhang Cheng actually understood that this was a person who was a licker to the extreme. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 102. Obviously his family is the richest man in the Demon City, so he insists on finding a son-in-law, just for the sake of love. For the little girl who gave him a piece of candy. But his little girl didn't like him and wanted to be with a rich, handsome man. Unfortunately, he stalked her and refused. As a result, I have been someone else's son-in-law for 3 years. In these 3 years, they have the name of husband and wife but not the reality of husband and wife. They have not even touched the bedside and are looked down upon by the whole family. As a result, at some old lady's birthday banquet, came a gift worth hundreds of millions. Shaking his head and throwing away these strange memories, Zhang Cheng got into the car. I have to say that Lu Feng's Lamborghini Aventador is very enjoyable to drive. After stepping on the accelerator a few times, Daniel roared and rushed out. Arrive at the Magic City School of Finance and Economics. Today is Saturday. Lin Qingjian has been living on campus because of family reasons. Su Qingying and his little cousin, he has solemnly investigated, and they are not in school. After being caught and raped by Su Yao, Zhang Cheng became smarter. You must first investigate clearly before you can raise fish. Otherwise, if you do it again and be discovered by a clever guy like Su Qingying, you will definitely not be able to explain it. It's okay once, but if you do it again, something will really happen. He took out his mobile phone and sent a message to Lin Qingjian. Zhang Cheng sat in the car and waited for her. In the girls' dormitory, Lin Qingjian looked at the prestige messages on her phone with complicated eyes. She didn't want to get too close to Zhang Cheng now. The identity gap between the two might be really big. So these days, she has been restraining herself from thinking about Zhang Cheng. But obviously, she failed. She didn't have the courage to block Zhang Cheng and delete it, so when she saw this message, her first reaction was to get dressed and go take a look. However, she still didn't want to go. When she was struggling, Zhang Cheng sent another message, "It's a little hot in the sun, come down quickly." He gritted his teeth, "Forget it, let's go." Lin Qingjian stopped changing her clothes and went out to meet Zhang Cheng in her usual clothes. When she arrived at her usual place, she saw Zhang Cheng in a suit again. Although she wanted to complain, "Aren't you hot?" But when he saw that face, he still chose to subconsciously forget these words. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or not, what's important is the aura with full temperament. Get in the car. After dinner, I'll take you back to your home. You haven't been back for a long time, right? Seeing Lin Qingjian walking over with minimal makeup and plain clothes, Zhang Cheng's face was full of smiles. It seems that Miss Qingjian still hasn't forgotten me. My damn charm. He actually wears a suit to enhance his temperament and maintain high-end combat power. Otherwise, if he encounters an unexpected situation, it will be difficult for him to deal with it and it will be very uncomfortable. Hearing Zhang Cheng's words, Lin Qingjian was stunned, and a hint of discomfort flashed in her eyes. Lin Qingjian's faint tone contained deep disappointment. It's better not to go back. Zhang Cheng looked at her quietly. The reason why Lin Qingjian was so resistant to going home was because her mother died young and her father and her siblings were struggling to stay alive. In her senior year of high school, her brother Lin Yuan suddenly sent her a message saying that he had found a high-paying job abroad, and then became silent. For the first 6 months, he would send 10,000 yuan home every month. At that time, their family was very happy, thinking that his brother was living a good life abroad. But half a year later, no sound from Lin Yuan came home. Now almost 4 years have passed. She is already a junior in college, but there is still no sound from her brother. My father had an accident at a construction site 2 years ago, and now one of his legs is paralyzed. During a checkup this year, he was even diagnosed with advanced gastric cancer. She had no ability to make any more money, so Lin Qingjian would work hard to earn her own living expenses, and then send the extra money home. Therefore, she is resisting going home now. Lin Qingjian doesn't want to go home. She sees the hopeful eyes of her elderly father, and then asks herself with a trace of hope, Qingjian, is Xiao Yuan back? She was afraid of crying and afraid of seeing her father's condition worsen again. Even when her father was diagnosed with terminal gastric cancer this year, she wanted to drop out of school and go home to take care of him. However, her father scolded her severely and said that she could live for 2 or 3 years and asked her to finish school first. I am afraid that I will collapse, and I am also afraid that I will cry when I face my father. Thinking of the past, mist gradually rose in Lin Qingjian's eyes. Zhang Cheng stepped forward, patted her shoulder, and said softly, "Don't be afraid, I will take you back, don't worry." "But, why are you going back?" I'm afraid that my dad will tell me something that I can't accept." Lin Qingjian's beautiful eyes gradually turned red, and a line of tears fell down, with a crying tone. Zhang Cheng stretched out his hand, wiped away the tears on her face, and said softly, "Go back and tell you something that will make you happy." Lin Qingjian met his sincere eyes, looked at him for more than 10 seconds, and nodded, "Then I believe you once, Senior Zhang Cheng." Hearing this, Zhang Cheng pinched her pretty face and said with a smile, "Good boy, this surprise is what you are most looking forward to seeing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 103. Lin Qingjian didn't know how serious it was. She didn't even know that Zhang Cheng was going to take her home. Keeping alert, Lin Qingjian got into the passenger seat. Because it was a supercar, she could only sit in the passenger seat. Zhang Cheng started the car and drove quickly to the outskirts of Magic City. At normal speed, it would take Zhang Cheng at least more than 2 hours to drive to Lin Qingjian's home. The distance in between was too far. 2 hours later, when he was approaching Lin Qingjian's home, Lin Qingjian asked him to stop in front of a supermarket, then quickly walked into the supermarket and bought a lot of supplements, tobacco, and alcohol. He looks like someone who has returned to his parents' home. Seeing her throwing big and small bags into the passenger seat, Zhang Cheng said in shock, "Why did you buy so many things?" Lin Qingjian rolled her eyes and said, "I haven't been home for more than half a year. This time I go home, I will definitely buy more things for the neighbors who help take care of my dad. My dad has leg problems and has advanced gastric cancer. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't know what I would do. Then you can put your things in the front luggage compartment. It's uncomfortable to sit here." Lin Qingjian stuck out her tongue in embarrassment, then got out of the car, ran to the Lamborghini and opened the lid. When she was about to put everything in her hand, she found that there were already many gifts, cigarettes, and alcohol inside, and she was stunned. A blush appeared on her face. Lin Qingjian threw all her things in, then returned to the passenger seat and asked, "Why did you buy so many things?" Zhang Cheng chuckled, "It's just what you think." "What do I think?" Lin Qingjian looked confused, "What the hell?" Entering the old-fashioned residential area built in the 1980s, Lin Qingjian walked out under the dull eyes of many people, and then Zhang Cheng also got out of the car. When the people around them saw the two taking things out of the luggage compartment side by side, they were all so shocked that their tongues almost dropped. "Is this Lao Lin's daughter?" "Oh, I already have a boyfriend, and he's still a rich man." Some people also liked the taste. "I didn't expect that. Although Lao Lin is disabled, he will be very blessed in the future. With such a rich son-in-law, why should he worry about food and clothing?" When some people see Lin Qingjian's father, they can't help but ridicule him, saying that it is his blessing to marry Lin Qingjian to his son. In short, in places where poor people gather together, the folk customs are simple and there are people who help each other, but there is also no shortage of jealous and immoral people. Lin Qingjian's face looked a little ugly when she heard the discussions around her. After he and Zhang Cheng got their things, they walked towards their home and passed over these mean neighbors. Of course, there are many good neighbors, and Lin Qingjian also greeted many people along the way. After returning home, Lin Qingjian opened the unlocked door. As soon as she entered, she saw middle-aged and elderly people around 50 years old sitting in the hall and watching TV. Looking at her father's gray hair and dark skin, Lin Qingjian's eyes instantly turned red. "Dad, I'm back." Lin Qingjian was very optimistic, but when faced with her father who was diagnosed with terminal gastric cancer, she still couldn't hold back her emotions, and her watery eyes suddenly turned red. He rushed directly to Lin Huiguo and hugged him tightly. Lin Huiguo was stunned by the sudden hug. It took him a long time to react, and he said with some uncertainty, "Qingjian? Are you back?" Only 50 years old, the already very old and feeble voice penetrated into Lin Qingjian's ears. Lin Qingjian could no longer control her emotions and hugged him directly and started crying, it's me, Dad, are you okay?" "Hey, your dad and I are in very good health. Your Aunt Li and some uncles come to help me every day. It's okay. It's okay." Lin Huiguo was a little at a loss and could only pat her back gently. He reassured. Only then did Lin Huiguo notice a handsome young man standing beside him, and couldn't help but ask, "Qingjian, who is this?" Hearing this, Lin Qingjian let him go, wiped the tears on her face, and then introduced, "This is Senior Zhang Cheng, he brought me back." "Senior?" Lin Huiguo was a little happy, his daughter finally brought her boyfriend home. Although he didn't want his daughter to fall in love and get married so early, he didn't know how long he could live with his body. When he died, his daughter didn't know what to do. "Xiao Cheng, you can sit down wherever you want. My legs and feet are inconvenient, so I'll let Qingjian greet you." "Don't worry about it." Lin Huiguo squinted his eyes and smiled. He has always judged people very accurately, and he knew from the look on Zhang Cheng that this person was not the kind of person who could deceive others with sweet words. Zhang Cheng smiled slightly, and then sat down. "Thank you, uncle. I came here suddenly with my junior sister today and didn't bring anything with me." "Don't be surprised, uncle." Lin Huiguo waved his hand and said nonchalantly, "That's not the case. I'll be very satisfied if you come to see me. Qingjian, you and Xiao Cheng go buy some food and come back. I'll call you Aunt Li and the others to come over for dinner." After the three of them chatted for a while, Lin Huiguo stood up happily, then used crutches and walked little by little. Got out. Zhang Cheng and Lin Qingjian were left here. After he went out, Lin Qingjian took Zhang Cheng downstairs to the vegetable market. When they were about to reach the vegetable market, Zhang Cheng suddenly stopped and smiled at Lin Qingjian. You go buy vegetables first, I will come find you in a minute. Oh, okay. Although his behavior was a little strange, Lin Qingjian didn't say anything and walked towards the vegetable market. Looking at her back, Zhang Cheng's smile gradually faded. He walked to a corner and said coldly, "What are you hiding? Come out." Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 104. In the darkness of the deserted corner, a sturdy figure walked out unnaturally. He has a short head, a height of 1.85 meters, and a burly build. Under his short sleeves, there are scars on his left arm. Looking at the honest young man in front of him, Zhang Cheng narrowed his eyes slightly and said calmly, "Is that Lin Yuan?" When he and Lin Qingjian entered the community, Zhang Cheng felt a sense of hostility. When he and Lin Qingjian went out to buy groceries, this figure kept following them. So just now Zhang Cheng pushed Lin Qingjian away just to lure him out. Lin Yuan's voice was steady, his eyes were like daggers, and he stared at Zhang Cheng. "Do you know me?" Zhang Cheng smiled, and under his gaze, he leaned against the red brick wall, lit a cigarette, and puffed away. "Qingjian's brother, how come I don't know you?" Lin Yuan took the cigarette he threw, took out a lighter bought for 1 yuan from his pocket, lit it and took a puff. "Who are you and why are you with my sister?" Lin Yuan was confident that Zhang Cheng couldn't beat him, so he smoked cigarettes with him without any courtesy and started talking like a family matter. "Me? Your sister's senior." Zhang Cheng raised the corners of his mouth and said with a smile. "Anyway, believe it or not, I am your sister's senior." "Believe it or not, Dad thinks I am your sister's boyfriend." Lin Yuan nodded, believing what he said, and then asked, "Why did you go home with my sister?" "He has been staying near home for 4 or 5 months. Every time he can only watch his father and others playing chess and sunbathing from a distance. Lin Yuan dare not go home." "Because I said I wanted to give your sister a surprise." Zhang Cheng exhaled the smoke and blew it away. "Surprise?" Lin Yuan was a little confused. "Ang, come with me to meet your sister later." Zhang Cheng met Lin Yuan's doubtful gaze and said with a smile. "Impossible," Lin Yuan refused without hesitation. "I can't let them see me like this, please leave." Lin Yuan waved his hand, then turned around and walked into the shadows. The next moment, Zhang Cheng stopped him directly. "Isn't it just that leg? I'll help you treat it." The understatement penetrated into Lin Yuan's ears like a magic sound, turning him to stone on the spot. Lin Yuan's eyes were horrified and he shook his head repeatedly. "No way, even the best doctors in the United States can't treat my leg. Why do you say you can cure it?" Lin Yuan walked out of the shadows, and it wasn't until he stood where he could see that Zhang Cheng saw that his left leg had lost all feeling at the moment, and he was dragging his legs little by little when walking. That's why there was an unnatural feeling in the beginning. Zhang Cheng sneered, "Why, in your eyes, doctors in the United States are the best." He does not deny that Western medicine can indeed produce results quickly enough on some medical problems. However, complex surgeries require the help of various instruments and sophisticated equipment. But in terms of medical skills, Chinese medicine is indeed not a feudal superstition. In such a harsh environment back then, Chinese medicine could treat various plague diseases. How could it have no merit? "I can help you heal this leg, but you have to agree to a condition." Seeing him full of excitement, Zhang Cheng said slowly. "What are the conditions?" Lin Yuan was excited and asked cautiously with a little vigilance. "As long as you don't let me kill innocent people indiscriminately or anything else, I can promise you." He went abroad not to find a high-paying job, but to work as a mercenary with some people in the Middle East. At first, they were hired to carry out beheadings or harassment. As the mercenary group formed by Lin Yuan and the others became stronger and stronger, they were framed by some warlords and other mercenaries, resulting in heavy casualties. Because of that tragic lesson, Lin Yuan was shot in the leg and received another rocket, and finally had no choice but to quit the mercenary group. With the help of the mercenary leader, he came to the United States and found the best doctors, but they all said they could not do anything about his leg. They also said that if there were no signs of necrosis in his left leg, they would have planned to amputate it. We'll let him keep it. Therefore, when he promised to do something for Zhang Cheng, he had the confidence to promise. In any case, he was once a mercenary. Not only had he experienced hundreds of battles, he was at least on par with some special forces. Otherwise, in the original work, he would not have been recruited by Ye Tian to be a bodyguard. Can you agree to anything? Zhang Cheng smiled slightly. What about being my bodyguard? Lin Yuan was stunned. That's it? Bodyguard, Lin Yuan asked in shock. He was a little confused. Ah, I forgot to introduce myself to you, my name is Zhang Cheng, Zhang Cheng said with a faint smile. Zhang Cheng? Lin Yuan was stunned for a moment, then his face was full of disbelief, and he took a deep breath. Are you Zhang Cheng, the chairman of Zhang Group? Zhang Cheng nodded. It's me. I just love to see you look like this, I have never seen a handsome guy before. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 105. Hear Zhang Cheng admit. Lin Yuan couldn't help but take a breath again. His sister actually knows such a person? Although he worked as a mercenary, he was limited to holding a gun and fighting some foreigners. He was quite in awe of these mysterious rich people. After all, in the Middle East, he had seen too many wealthy people throw out a few boxes full of American knives and let his mercenary group kill people. He calls this ability money ability. Because they have money, they can work for the rich, carry out beheading operations, and participate in wars. Because he is rich, he can earn millions a year. Although most of the money was spent to keep this leg, after all, this is really a job with high income, high reward, and high risk. He treats mercenaries as a job. So when he learned that the person in front of him was the chairman of the Zhang Group, he was still very surprised. He couldn't figure out why the chairman of a 100 billion group met his sister. And Lin Yuan didn't think Zhang Cheng came here with him just to sleep with his sister. Because for a person of Zhang Cheng's status, there is no need at all. Mr. Zhang, what are you here for? After being shocked, Lin Yuan regained his composure. He didn't understand what Zhang Cheng's true purpose was. I said, I came to you to be my bodyguard. Are you satisfied with this purpose? Zhang Cheng raised his eyebrows and said in a cold tone. I don't want to repeat myself. Seeing that his tone turned cold, Lin Yuan also suppressed the doubts in his heart and just assumed that you came here to take me as a bodyguard. How about it, are you willing? Nod, I'll help you heal your leg, and be my bodyguard, with a monthly salary of 50,000 yuan, and a bonus after 1 year of service. If you don't agree, I will also help you heal your leg. Who makes you Qinjian's brother? Zhang Cheng's smile returned to his face. Lin Yuan was a little embarrassed. If I don't agree, is he taking advantage of my sister? Who can withstand this? I do. Lin Yuan nodded directly and agreed without any further thought. There's no shame in being a bodyguard anyway. And the salary is still high. Although you can make millions a year as a mercenary abroad, you are still living with your head in your belt. If you are not careful, an AK may hit your head, and then your money will be useless. Ding. Congratulations to the host, for successfully subduing the supporting character, Lin Yuan, the villain value add 1000. Ding. Congratulations to the host, Ye Tian's luck value is reduced by 5%. You can specify the protagonist's skill level to be downgraded by *1 level. Zhang Cheng was stunned again when he heard the notification sound from the system. But soon, he silently muttered again, open Ye Tian's panel. Protagonist, Ye Tian, son of destiny. Luck, 45. The full level of luck is 100. The lower the luck, the fewer opportunities the protagonist has. Doing other things will be interfered by luck and will not go smoothly. When it drops to 0, the title of Son of Luck will be deprived and the host task will be completed. Properties, 180. Strength, 155. Reactions, 135. Speed, 160. Charisma, 140. Note, the standard for a normal adult male is 100, and the maximum charm value is 149. Skills mastered, cooking level 7, 7500/8000. Guitar level 4, 4511/5000. Driving skill level 3, 2300/4000. Medical skill level 86, 86/100. Seeing Yetian's attribute list, Zhang Cheng couldn't help but sigh. The protagonist is the protagonist, and this attribute has improved too fast. But when he saw the medical skills, Zhang Cheng was shocked again, because when he first saw Yetian's medical skills, was he showing off? When I took a look this time, I found that I could actually see through it. After thinking for a while, Zhang Cheng felt that his medical skill level should be higher than that of Yetian, and because he was downgraded last time, he was lower than him, so it was displayed. After logging out of the system, Zhang Cheng was in a good mood. Looking at Lin Yuan, I found that the more I looked at it, the more pleasing it was to my eyes. He was in a very good mood, patted Lin Yuan's shoulder, and then said, "That's good, that's good. I'll treat your legs when we get back. I'll also prescribe some medicine for your dad. Maybe it won't eliminate his stomach cancer, but it can make it better. He will live another 10 or 20 years like a normal person." Zhang Cheng was in a very good mood at the moment. He didn't expect to conquer Lin Yuan all of a sudden. He originally planned to use this news to force him to surrender. Sure enough, Lin Yuan became even more excited when he heard Zhang Cheng's words. He was even more excited than when he knew his leg was going to be cured. "Mr. Zhang, are you telling the truth? Can I really let my dad go back to living like an ordinary person? Stomach cancer can easily lead to serious accidents if not treated carefully," so when he was observing Lin Huiguo nearby, he would also give money to his uncles and aunts when they went out to buy groceries and ask them to help take care of him. Zhang Cheng calmly said calmly, "Am I still lying to others? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 106. Okay, you will. Don't forget how you lied without blushing and said that you were coerced by the Su family and had no choice but to live in Su Yao's villa. Su Qingying and her little cousin shed complicated tears. Now you turn around and forget about this? Scumbag. Looking at Zhang Cheng's indifferent face, Lin Yuan chose to believe him. He believed that a person with Zhang Cheng's status would not lie to him as an ordinary person. "Then you wait here. I'll buy groceries with your sister first, and then I'll call you. You can clean up yourself." After saying that, Zhang Cheng turned around and left without waiting for Lin Yuantong to disagree. Great, Lin Yuan didn't care, turned around and walked towards the house he rented, looking excited. Zhang Cheng walked into the vegetable market. In fact, it was not a big market. It just maintained the normal life security of the two nearby communities. So as soon as he walked into the market and looked around for a while, he could spot Lin Qingjian. In front of a fish stall, Lin Qingjian was buying 2 fish and was about to leave after paying. A young man wearing a vest and dyed yellow hair suddenly blocked Lin Qingjian's path. "Hey, isn't this Qingjian? Why, when did you come back?" Huang Mao held a toothpick in his mouth, looked at Lin Qingjian, and said with an evil smile, "Hey, I bought so many vegetables, do you want to invite me back for a meal? Rice." Lin Qingjian frowned slightly, turned away, and said calmly, I'm not familiar with you. Cherish words like gold. Seeing this, Huang Mao blocked her direction again, and said sullenly, go and have a drink with me, wouldn't we be familiar? Anyway, you and I are in the same community, so why not just be my girlfriend, so that I can also take care of your dying father for you. Snapped. When Lin Qingjian heard this, she threw the fish in Huang Mao's face heavily, can you have some moral integrity? Don't think that you can do whatever you want if you are a resident of the same building. This is a society governed by the rule of law. His face was scratched by the fin. Huang Mao tilted his head, spat, and cursed, you bitch, you are so shameless, right? You'd better not go out tonight, otherwise I'll make you look good. Huang Mao raised his hand and wanted to slap him, but he didn't move it down yet. A huge force suddenly hit his waist and kicked him out, falling to the wet and fishy-smelling ground. Zhang Cheng's face was cold. Why do such idiots always come out to play this trick? Oh, whoever dares to kick me on horseback, believe it or not, I will kill you. Huang Mao fell to the ground, and the severe pain made him almost faint. You go first, leave this matter to me. Zhang Cheng ignored his shouting, rubbed Lin Qingjian's head, and said softly. Looking at the reactions of the vegetable sellers and buyers around him, Zhang Cheng knew that this kind of person should be a cancer in the neighborhood. Especially in this kind of suburban area, not many people will actually notice it, so it will also breed some social dregs. But Lin Qingjian looked worriedly at Zhang Cheng, whose boyfriend was at his max, and hesitated to speak. Zhang Cheng smiled and said, you go first. After leaving the vegetable market and heading towards us, in the first alley on the left, there is what you want to see. Lin Qingjian glanced at him suspiciously, glanced at the yellow hair on the ground with the corner of her eye, and nodded, okay then. After Lin Qingjian turned around and walked away, Zhang Cheng rushed up and kicked Huang Mao on the back. He was kicked 3 or 4 meters away and stopped only after hitting the big buckets containing garbage. Since these people dare not deal with you, then let me do it. Zhang Cheng's kick perfectly avoided the fatal point, but it was enough to break several of his ribs. Shabai, Zhang Cheng walked up to Huang Mao, who was already unconscious, and cursed skillfully. Then his eyes returned to the fish vendor. Looking at the middle-aged man with excitement in his eyes, he said helplessly, boss, here are 2 fish. Okay, I'll pick the 2 best ones for you. After skillfully killing the fish, Zhang Cheng paid the money and left. After he left, the nearby vendors suddenly became lively. Hey, good fight. This piece of shit has been sneaking around all day long and should have been beaten long ago. You're an immoral thing, you're going to die sooner or later. You come here all day long to learn how the underworld collects protection fees. It's rubbish. Okay, don't call the police after you've finished scolding me. Who will ask someone to delete the surveillance records? This kind of rubbish should be punished. After Zhang Cheng left the vegetable market, he sent another message to Wu Long. In fact, although this place is considered a suburb, Wu Long also has his tentacles here because there are many factories nearby. Therefore, Wu Long also opened several clubs here. Zhang Cheng asked Wu Long to deal with the gangsters nearby, so as not to have a bad mood again someday. Put away his phone when he walked to the alley. Then he saw Lin Yuan hiding from his sister as if afraid. Lin Qingjian's eyes were red, and her words were full of surprise and reproach. Lin Yuan, where have you been in the past 2 years? Don't you know that Dad and I are worried about you? Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 107. Lin Qingjian's red eyes were filled with mist. She bit her lip and shouted, don't you even want a home now? She was angry, really angry. Lin Qingjian couldn't understand why Lin Yuan refused to go back and take a look when he was clearly near his home. Let their father and daughter worry and worry for so long. Sister, I Seeing his favorite sister angry, Lin Yuan hesitated and hesitated to speak. Seeing this, Zhang Cheng walked in and said with a smile, "What's wrong? What are you still worried about?" Seeing Zhang Cheng return, Lin Qingjian turned around and looked over, with sincerity in her eyes, and said seriously, "Senior, thank you for helping me find my brother." At this moment, Lin Qingjian also understood that it was Zhang Cheng who found her brother. The surprise he mentioned must be referring to this, right? Lin Qingjian's mood was very complicated. I was thankful that my brother was safe. There is also a feeling of not knowing how to repay Zhang Cheng. It seems that he has been causing trouble for Senior Zhang Cheng from the beginning, right? Starting from the bar, it is the senior who saves himself. He said he wanted to treat him to dinner, and he also met his classmate Wan Li, who had been targeting him. Then he had dropped out of school because he angered his senior. In fact, Lin Qingjian herself didn't understand what her attitude was towards Senior Zhang Cheng. She avoided him some time ago, partly because she was afraid that people would gossip again. On the other hand, I was also afraid that I would fall in love with Zhang Cheng. Lin Qingjian couldn't convince herself. She felt that there was too much difference in status between her and Zhang Cheng, and she was not worthy of him at all. Excellent. Seeing her complicated expression, Zhang Cheng smiled slightly and didn't care. He looked at Lin Yuan and said calmly, "What's wrong? Why don't you come out and go back together?" Hearing this, Lin Yuan gritted his teeth. Then he limped out. Under the sun, there was his strong and burly body, and his disabled left leg was completely exposed to the eyes of the two people. Lin Qingjian was pleasantly surprised when she saw him. When she noticed Lin Yuan's unnaturalness, Lin Qingjian was suddenly stunned. "Brother, what's wrong with your legs?" Lin Qingjian was stunned for a while and said in a trembling voice. "It's nothing, I'm just injured." "It's nothing serious." Lin Yuan avoided his eyes and said perfunctorily. Lin Qingjian didn't believe his lies. It would make sense if he said there was nothing serious about a limp leg. But Lin Yuan's legs were completely numb and couldn't move at all. Seeing that he didn't want to say anything, Lin Qingjian looked at him for a long time, and finally everything she wanted to say turned into a sigh. "Then, if you don't want to say it, just don't say it. Let's go home." Lin Qingjian's hands were full of large and small bags of vegetables, but she still walked over and wanted to help Lin Yuan. Supported by his sister, Lin Yuan's nose twitched and his voice was hoarse. "It's okay. Mr. Zhang just said that my leg can still be cured. It's really okay." "Is it true?" Lin Qingjian was stunned, looked at Zhang Cheng excitedly and asked, "Senior, is what you said true?" Zhang Cheng stood aside and saw Lin Qingjian, who just remembered him. He wanted to ask, "You just remembered me?" It can be cured." Upon hearing the answer, Lin Qingjian's face instantly burst into a beautiful smile. "Stop talking now and go back quickly." Seeing that she still wanted to speak, Zhang Cheng interrupted her directly. "If this continues, I probably won't be able to eat." The brother and sister nodded after hearing this. Then, with Lin Qingjian's support, the three of them walked into the community under the strange looks of their neighbors. "Isn't that Lao Lin's son? Didn't you say that he disappeared? I heard that he seemed to have gone abroad. Why is my leg lame when I come back now? I guess he offended someone abroad and had his legs broken and was thrown back. You need to be more virtuous. Do you still want to be a wife for your wicked son? Is your wicked son worthy of it? What's wrong with my son? He's more than qualified to be the president of the Song Group, Song Yiwei." Hearing the bickering of these people, the three of them acted as if they had not heard anything. One thing that's bad about a place like this is that the quality of the residents varies. There are good and bad. When I got home, as soon as I entered the door, I found that there were 4 more men and women who were similar to Lin Huiguo inside. After hearing the sound of the door opening, their conversation stopped for a moment. Lin Huiguo stood up and said with a smile, "I'm back." Before he finished speaking, Lin Huiguo noticed the man being supported by Lin Qingjian, and for a moment, the air suddenly became quiet. "Xiao Yuan, is it you, Xiao Yuan?" Lin Huiguo was in disbelief, his voice trembling. "I was afraid that the person in front of me was an illusion." Almost 4 years have passed, and no news has reached home about Lin Yuan. Lin Huiguo despaired that he was dead. He was even prepared to end his own life when he saw his daughter get married and go down to find Lin Yuan. However, just today, my daughter came back, and my son, who had been missing for 4 years, suddenly came back. If he hadn't been able to feel the warmth of the people around him, he would have felt like he was having a flashback and was hallucinating. Lin Yuan looked at his extremely thin father. A man who had once been able to hold an AK and who had never cried even when he was hit by bullets actually cried at this moment. "Dad, it's me, I'm back, and I'll never leave again. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO." Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 108. Money and power, although important in the eyes of some ordinary people, are not the most important. In the eyes of some people, they think family ties are more important. Others think that power, wealth, and fame are the most important, and they can even give up their families for these. In fact, these have little to do with myself. You just need to have your own moral compass, then you think you are right. When you feel that you want family affection more, those who focus on money and power will think you are stupid. Binding these things to yourself will be a factor that hinders your progress. Similarly, when you focus on money and power, you will also feel that family ties are a burden and a constraint. Therefore, Zhang Cheng has always set a line in his heart that he cannot exceed. He hopes for love, family affection, wealth, and power. The summary is Zhang Cheng, I want them all. Lin Yuan struggled to walk in front of Lin Huiguo, and knelt down on the ground with a plop. "Dad, I'm sorry for you." Lin Huiguo helped him up, not knowing where to put his hands, patting his strong arms, and kept chanting, "It's good to come back, it's good to come back." After learning that he had terminal gastric cancer, Lin Huiguo realized that he did not have much time left. He is not afraid of death, he is afraid that his son will die first. Now that he saw Lin Yuan come back safely, the worry that had been hidden in his heart was relieved. "Qingjian, come on, come to the kitchen and help Dad. Dad will cook this meal himself." The father and son chatted for a long time, and Lin Huiguo walked into the kitchen excitedly and said hello to Lin Qingjian, who had developed tear ducts and was crying non-stop. On the sofa, Lin Huiguo was chatting with his 4 uncles and aunts, as if thanking them for taking care of his father in the past 6 months. While chatting, a fat middle-aged woman smiled and said, "Xiao Yuan, is that your sister's boyfriend?" The 4 of them had actually noticed Zhang Cheng's presence a long time ago. They watched him sitting on a stool playing with his mobile phone. After chatting for a while, they brought the topic to Zhang Cheng. Lin Yuan was also startled when he heard this. "Right, is Zhang always my sister's boyfriend? When I asked earlier, I forgot to ask this question." "I don't know about this either." Lin Yuan scratched his head and said with an honest smile. Suddenly, Lin Qingjian walked out of the kitchen, and Lin Yuan immediately called her over. "Qingjian, come here, I want to ask you something." Lin Qingjian, wearing a cartoon apron and peeling garlic in her hand, came to Lin Yuan's side and chuckled, "What's the matter?" Her long hair was tied up with a hairband. Even if she was wearing an apron, she couldn't block Lin Qingjian's figure. Her flawless face bloomed with her smile, and dimples quietly appeared. Very pure and charming. Lin Yuan asked in a low voice in her ear, "Sister, who are you, Mr. Zhang? Why would he go home with you? Is he your boyfriend?" In fact, he had asked Zhang Cheng this question a long time ago, but Zhang Cheng never answered him. When Lin Qingjian heard this, a blush appeared on her face. She took the garlic and slapped Lin Yuan on the head. What are you talking about? He is just my senior, and he brought me back home this time. Lin Yuan didn't care about the pain on his head and said oh meaningfully. I understand, senior. When an honest person thinks about it, he is actually more imaginative than LSP. When he saw his sister's reaction, he realized it instantly. Mr. Zhang must be interested in my sister. Not only that, even the four close uncles and aunts next to him looked like I understand at this moment. Lin Qingjian saw their reactions and immediately knew that they must have misunderstood. This situation would definitely get darker and darker if she explained it herself. Stomping his feet, he returned to the kitchen with the garlic cloves opened by Lin Yuan's head. I'm too lazy to talk to you. However, her reaction strengthened Lin Yuan's suspicion. It seems that the old girl from home is also fascinated by Mr. Zhang. Lin Yuan felt a little emotional when he thought of this. No wonder Mr. Zhang said it could heal my legs and help suppress my father's condition. Letting myself be a bodyguard is just an excuse. The real purpose is actually for his own sister. I treat you as my boss, but I didn't expect you, Mr. Zhang, to want to be my brother-in-law. Lin Yuan felt that he had seen through Zhang Cheng's purpose. But he has nothing to say, so just take it as such. If his sister can really be with Mr. Zhang, she won't have to worry about anything in the next life. I don't care about anything, as long as I can make my sister live a good life, I can feel at ease. Thinking about all the follow-up and previous incomprehensions in his mind, Lin Yuan arranged a reasonable explanation for him. Everything is for my sister. What happened here was naturally inseparable from Zhang Cheng's sight. So when Lin Yuan glanced at him in greeting, Zhang Cheng smiled politely back. Yes, uncle. Everything is what you think it is. I'm just here for your sister. Otherwise, with your three-legged cat skills, would I need you as a bodyguard? Just take a bullet for me. The kitchen was in full swing, and various aromas gradually spread in the small house. In the living room, 5 people were also discussing various little secrets. Zhang Cheng was the only one, sitting alone on a chair playing with his phone. Fish keeping diary. Today is the 3rd day since Yao Mei left. As usual, I called her every day and kissed her for a while on the video call. Yao Mei was very happy and said she would reward me when she came back. After hanging up the phone, I checked Qingying Girl's moments again and found that there were still no updates. My little cousin hasn't been doing her best lately. Don't you know that Qingying is missing your cousin and me in her life? How many days have passed and you still haven't arranged some plot for me to seduce Qingying Girl? Things will change later. The plot world is too complicated. If Qingying Girl is flirted with, I will definitely never be done with this girl. Back to the topic. Today, in addition to feeding the small fish every day, I also fished out Qinjian Girl and went home with her. That's right, I made the girl cry again. I'm such a genius. By the way, she found her brother again. The recognition of brother and sister was very touching, really. Now my uncle seems to have recognized me as my brother-in-law, which is a good start. Come on. Fish farmer. I can. I have a very strong premonition that Qinjian Girl's favorability towards me is about to reach full. Why? Actually, I really don't want to be a fish king. Back to the topic, the fry are currently growing well and the little fish in the fish pond are swimming happily, but I don't know how long I can keep the secret. Waiting online, how can we let the fish live in peace? After typing the last question mark, exiting the note, and looking at Lin Qingjian's graceful figure, Zhang Cheng smiled slightly. Because I have eaten, I will write the fish-keeping diary in the diary when I go back. It would be bad to save it on your phone if someone sees it. As time passed, dishes were brought out from the kitchen one by one. Soon, there were 6 or 7 more dishes in front of Zhang Cheng. Okay, the last dish is here, come and eat. Lin Huiguo came out of the kitchen carrying the last dish, then took off his apron and said happily. Suddenly, the 5 people who were discussing on the sofa in the living room went directly to the large round dining table and sat down. Because Lin Huiguo has advanced gastric cancer, the dishes he cooks are relatively light, but this does not hinder everyone's appetite. Come on, let's all eat. As the head of the family, Lin Huiguo was the first to use his chopsticks, and then the others stopped being polite and started eating one after another. Xiao Cheng, I don't know what your job is. After eating for a while, Lin Huiguo was about to speak and asked about Zhang Cheng's situation, but was suddenly interrupted by a loud noise. Boom! Boss, this is it. A familiar voice sounded in the living room. Then, 7 or 8 people filed in, all pouring into the hall. The 8 young men were holding baseball bats or fruit knives. All of them had their arms bare, revealing the tattoos on their shoulders. Soon, 2 more people walked in. Boss, it's this bastard who beat me, Huang Mao, who I bumped into while shopping for groceries today, pointed at Zhang Cheng on the dining table and shouted as soon as he walked in. Fuck me. Break a leg. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 109. The person who walked in suddenly made Lin Huiguo and others startled. Seeing the other party's menacing approach, his expression suddenly changed. They are just ordinary people. Wherever they have experienced this, they have only seen it on the news. When he saw a familiar person inside, Lin Huiguo immediately shouted, Wang Ergu, what do you want to do? The one with yellow hair lives downstairs in his house. He eats and is lazy all day long. He goes to the vegetable market or hangs out at some street stalls every day to collect some kind of protection fee. Although we are now a society governed by the rule of law, these social dregs are still not extinct. It's just not as arrogant as it was a few decades ago. But at this moment, he suddenly came to the door with a group of gangsters, and Lin Huiguo was a little confused. Old man Lin, stop talking nonsense. Your daughter's man dares to hit me. I'm not done with him. Hearing this, the 2 dogs of the yellow-haired king pointed at Lin Huiguo with a baseball bat and yelled, if you know better, just stay here, watch from the sidelines, otherwise I will beat you as well. With someone backing him up, Wang Ergu was naturally extremely arrogant. Upon hearing this, Lin Huiguo immediately looked at Lin Qingjian and saw her shaking her head slowly. Lin Qingjian pulled Zhang Cheng and said, Senior, run quickly and see if you can get out. I am the one who hurt you this time. She also knew Zhang Cheng's identity. If he was really beaten, these people would be in bad luck today. But now is not the time to talk about this. Run as much as you can. Lin Yuan's expression also changed a bit. If there was no problem with his legs, he could barely get down with these people, but not now. He could only try his best to hold back this group of people and let Zhang Cheng rush out. Although he might be beaten badly, there was nothing he could do. He also vaguely guessed why Wang Ergu was beaten. That must be because he messed with his sister. Zhang Cheng put down his bowl and chopsticks and sighed. There are always idiots looking for a sense of presence. Wu Long should really strengthen his management here. Fine. Zhang Cheng stood up and turned to face Wang Ergu and his group. Seeing him getting up, next to Wang Ergu, it seemed that the eldest brother of the group spoke. Boy, come here and let us break one of your limbs, otherwise they will all suffer because of you. The bastard brother naturally had the confidence to say this. All 10 of them were armed. This group was all old, weak, sick, and disabled, and there was also a woman. Who can you beat? You guys, why do you have to seek death? Zhang Cheng sighed. After saying that, he directly activated the suit thug skill and rushed into them. Seeing him rushing over, The gangsters were startled at first, then they picked up their baseball bats and hit Zhang Cheng. Puff! Zhang Cheng made a grapple and grabbed the arm of a gangster in front of him. With an easy twist, the gangster's arm was dislocated. Taking advantage of the situation, Zhang Cheng picked up the baseball bat and hit a gangster in the arm without any hesitation. The huge force made the man scream, but not long after, Zhang Cheng hit him in the mouth with another stick. Blood flew out mixed with saliva and smashed teeth. The whole scene started to get bloody. The space in this old house was not very large, so they couldn't surround it at all and could only let Zhang Cheng fight 1-on-2. Ah! The third gangster fell to the ground when he saw the two brothers in front of him facing each other. He angrily picked up the steel pipe, shouted and smashed it on Zhang Cheng's head. Feeling the crisis, Zhang Cheng dodged the attack and his eyes instantly turned cold. Although he didn't want to hurt anyone too seriously, he was really angered by this group of people at this moment. The hand holding the baseball bat tightened, and he raised his hand to hit the gangster's exposed spine. Click! The sound of broken bones sounded, and Zhang Cheng didn't care how he shouted, he raised his foot and kicked him suddenly. Seeing this suddenly fierce scene, everyone who was still standing was shocked. Lin Yuan was deeply shocked to see Zhang Cheng being able to make fighting as graceful as art in such a violent scene. Do you still need me to be a bodyguard? This is a bit too cruel. He served as a soldier. After retiring, because he could not find a suitable job, he followed others abroad and became a mercenary. He also met a soldier king who had experienced hundreds of battles. But he had never seen anyone like Zhang Cheng. A person who can play violence like a beautiful art. Sure enough, it's still for my sister, Lin Yuan thought in his heart. Otherwise, he couldn't figure out how someone with Zhang Cheng's skills would need protection from someone like him. On the other side, Lin Qingjian was equally surprised. She had seen Zhang Cheng beating people, but she thought at that time that it was just a surprise between ordinary people and it would not cause much harm. But now when she saw the scene in front of her, she fell into deep thought again. Why do I feel a sense of appreciation when I see Zhang Cheng's actions in the rough scenes that I hate the most? Vaguely, it seems that Zhang Cheng is even more attractive at this moment. Strange. On the gangster's side, the big brother saw the idea and his eyes changed. He shouted directly at the remaining people, "Get on your horse, give me a ruthless hand. Beat me to death and find a place to throw it away, just do it." Seeing Zhang Cheng's ferocity, he was also afraid. So even if Zhang Cheng is beaten to death, he is not afraid. He still has a little influence here. If he was really beaten to death, he would organize his men at night, and then take him to the wilderness to dig a deep pit and bury him. If these people dared to speak out, even if he went in, he would still make it difficult for these people. Hearing the roar of the eldest brother, the remaining gangsters clenched the baseball bats and steel pipes in their hands, and then rushed forward with shouts to embolden themselves. It was also their first time to experience such a scene. In the past, they had just bullied others with some people. They had never seen a bloody fight before. Zhang Cheng's eyes were also extremely cold. How dare he say that he would be beaten to death? Hearing this, Zhang Cheng struck harder. With one blow of the stick, the oncoming gangster's wrist was directly broken, instead of being simply dislocated. The sound of broken bones resounded throughout the hall. Everyone's scalps went numb after hearing this. Zhang Cheng became ruthless. He really didn't have anything to do with these people. He can usually be kind-hearted, although there is a villain system and a villain definition. But what he does is very different from the villain in the novel. But that doesn't mean he can't be ruthless. So when he heard that these people wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be polite. The thug in a suit has a 50% attribute bonus and all top-level fighting skills are fully activated, making him like a humanoid Tyrannosaurus, charging into these sheep and killing them randomly. As soon as the stick goes down, a gangster will fall to the ground with blood. Soon, the 8 gangsters were maimed. Zhang Cheng carried the baseball bat that was still bleeding and walked towards the gangster brother and Wang Ergu little by little. At this moment, Wang Ergu and the gangster brother were all in bad condition. Their faces were all pale. No matter how stupid they were, they knew that they had offended a ruthless person that they should not offend. "You, what do you want to do?" the gangster boss yelled in a stern tone as he backed away. But when he came in, the door to the living room was locked by him. Wang Ergu was also extremely scared. He didn't expect that the man in front of him could be so good at fighting. In just a few strokes, all his brothers were knocked down. Zhang Cheng's eyes flashed fiercely, and he slowly walked towards the two of them step by step, with a serious tone, "Destroy you. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO." Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 110. Hearing these extremely cold words, the gangster's head buzzed. He did not doubt the authenticity of Zhang Cheng's words. If this is just a threat, what about my disabled brothers lying on the ground? When he thought of this, the gangster brother looked at Wang Ergu, who was already stunned. He came here to cause trouble for this guy. But now, instead of finding trouble, someone is causing trouble. Brother, this idiot came to me. It's none of my business. You have to beat him. The gangster brother softened his tone instantly, pointed directly at Wang Ergu, and quickly shied away the responsibility. Wang Ergu's expression changed drastically. He didn't even say anything to beg for mercy when he was hit in the face with a stick by Zhang Cheng, causing his teeth to shatter instantly. Covering his mouth, he fell to the ground and screamed. Seeing this scene, the gangster brother felt his scalp numb. Just when he thought Zhang Cheng would let him go, a sound broke through the air and roared towards his head with strong wind. Boom! The gangster brother was directly beaten away with the stick. His body hit the door with a dull sound. The whole farce ended. Lin Yuan's family was stunned on the spot. Seeing Zhang Cheng coming back after throwing down the stick, Lin Yuan reacted and said quickly, "Mr. Zhang, what should we do now?" Lin Yuan was a little frightened. Zhang Cheng was a bit ruthless, and he couldn't help but feel frightened. Zhang Cheng put away the bonus effects of the suit's thug skills and returned to the image of the handsome CEO who was harmless to humans and animals and loved by everyone. He glanced at the group of gangsters who had fainted, leaving only Wang Ergu who was still screaming, and said calmly, "It's okay, I'll just have someone come over and clean it up." With that said, he made a phone call in front of everyone. Soon, the call was connected and Zhang Cheng said neatly, "Ask your people to come to number 901, Building 2, Tianli Community to clean up, and drive a car to pull people over." After saying that, Zhang Cheng hung up the phone directly. "Okay, let's continue eating." With that said, Zhang Cheng sat back down and started eating. It was as if the scene before him had never happened. But the entire Lin family and the 4 uncles and aunts didn't think so. Everyone started to eat with fear. He never said that he wanted to understand Zhang Cheng. There was no other way. Zhang Cheng brought them a very unexpected scene. A gentle and elegant person suddenly turned into a cold and ruthless person. After beating someone, they can still eat indifferently. How can they have the intention to look at such a person like ordinary aunts and wives? Everyone ate absent-mindedly. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the door. Lin Qingjian stood up first and walked over to open the door. Soon, 5 or 6 people filed into the hall. In front of everyone, he bowed to Zhang Cheng, who was sitting in his seat and had an outstanding temperament. At a glance, people could tell that his identity was not simple. He said respectfully, "Mr. Zhang, what are your orders?" Their boss received a call from the boss above and asked his team to rush over to deal with it. They also knew that there was a person with a terrifying identity here. Zhang Cheng didn't even look at this group of people, his face was dull, he drank the oily tea after the meal, and said coldly, "Drag these people on the ground away." After saying that, Zhang Cheng stood up again and walked out of the door. Wu Long's subordinate understood and followed him out. Zhang Cheng stopped, lit a cigarette, squinted at the gangster brother lying on the ground, and said coldly, "Sink him into the river, feed the fish, deal with it cleanly, and then ask your boss to get 200,000, and you can share it and drink tea." Although he doesn't want to be too evil a villain, sometimes he can kill people without blinking an eye. Similar to these people who don't open their eyes and provoke themselves, they just want to make their mood worse. "Then let's all go to Shenzhen to feed the fish." The subordinate was surprised at first, and then said in surprise, "Thank you, Mr. Zhang." For those of them who have been working under Wu Long for some time, although Shenzhen rarely does this kind of thing, it is not that he has never done it before. Naturally, I know how to deal with it most cleanly. If there are people with support, naturally there are various channels, and everything can be done, such as killing people and sinking rivers. But usually you don't get paid to do this kind of thing. The most I can remember is that you can do great things. So after receiving the order, he also selected a few key members. Shenzhen could naturally do such a thing. Zhang Chen nodded. As for those little gangsters, their hands were broken or their mouths were broken. One of them had his spine broken by himself, which was not much better. Mob the people away and mop the floor clean by the way. After saying that, Zhang Chen walked into the hall again. Looking at the faces of Lin Yuan's family, Zhang Chen also knew that it was not suitable to stay here now and sighed. "Lin Yuan, please come to the city some other time to fix your leg. Ask Qinjian to call me and I will go over and cure it at that time," Zhang Chen said to Lin Yuan. Then he turned around and showed an apologetic smile to Lin Huiguo and the others. "Uncle Lin, I'm sorry to frighten you. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first." "Ah. Okay, okay, walk slowly," Lin Huiguo reacted and responded repeatedly. He couldn't keep Zhang Chen, so he could only be polite. Zhang Chen nodded, then looked at Lin Qinjian and smiled. Then he left the Lin family. After Zhang Chen and Wu Long had left, Lin Huiguo looked at the mopped floor and asked in confusion, "Qinjian, Xiao Chen, who is he?" Lin Qinjian heard this and said with complicated eyes, "He is the chairman of Zhang Group, Zhang Chen." Suddenly, everyone in the living room fell into silence. Lin Huiguo and the others all showed shock in their eyes. The young man just now turned out to be the chairman of Qinyi Group. After leaving Lin's house, Zhang Chen drove Lu Feng's Lamborghini Aventador Daniel and left the community. On the way, Zhang Chen wanted to sigh again. Hey, why is the road to raising a beautiful girl so difficult? Zhang Chen was a little depressed. Every time he wanted to get closer to Qinjian, there were always some unscrupulous things coming to join in the fun and interrupt him. Is it because of the incident where I designed the bar? It shouldn't be. Zhang Chen drove the car with complicated eyes. Why is it so difficult for me to develop a relationship with Qinjian? Leave Lin's house and drive towards the city center. It was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Although I once again lost the opportunity to communicate with Qinjian girl in depth. But Zhang Chen didn't say give up. He could only look for another opportunity. After all, Guanbao's acquaintance did not mean that success could be achieved. Back in the city center, Zhang Chen drove towards the headquarters of Tiancheng Group. After all, it is your own industry, so you should go and see the situation anyway.